Welcome to The Word, the only talk show in the world that takes its talking points from God. Or, well, the Torah, I guess. Or, you know, I say that so freely on this show, or insinuate that God wrote the Torah. But what am I even talking about? I mean, is that even theologically correct? Right? I mean, is that a good assumption? What about where did Moses come in on writing it? So I looked into it, right? You know, I took the deep dive, and thankfully I wasn't wrong. The general consensus by nearly all forms of Judaism throughout history is that the verses of the Torah were revealed by God to Moses in the year 1312 BC during the time or around the time of Moses receiving the Ten Commandments. And Moses recorded it all. He wrote it all down. I know that's still quite a leap of faith to accept, and I completely get it. But then, you know, it kind of got me thinking, what if Moses or a couple of other dudes who might have written the Torah without any divine guidance whatsoever, right? They just wrote it on their own, just made the whole thing up, right? What you would imagine an atheist must believe happened, right? Somebody just made it up. You know, like Moses, 3,300 years ago, he wakes up one morning in a world of no printing presses, probably pretty difficult to get your hands on any written item in those days, right? You know, everything's tanned skins and papyrus or chiseled stones, you know. I mean, we're still centuries before any of the great Greek thinkers and writers like Socrates or Homer or Plato. There's no movies, obviously, no Star Wars, no Star Trek. There's not even the concept of science fiction yet. I mean, this is how long ago it is, right? But no, it's almost a complete creative vacuum you're in. And the hope of financial riches is surely not driving someone to write this. Right? Because there's no publishing industry. And yet, Moses or somebody else or a couple of guys Moses turns to his wife one day and says, Zipporah, I'm feeling this, I don't know, I'm feeling this itch. I got a book in me. I know it. I knew it. And I think between me tending the flock, I'm going to sit down, on that boulder over there, and I'm going to knock it out. I really am. I got to do it. Let me just read you the first few sentences of what I got. I just knocked them out. I just chiseled them away. Here, check it out. In the beginning of God's creation of the heavens and the earth, now the earth was astonishingly empty, and darkness was on the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the water. And God said, let there be light. And there was light. All right, look, everybody just take a break for a second. Because if you really think about that, I mean, I got to tell you, at that moment in time in history, for a human being in the middle of the desert to have written those sentences and the 5,849 other verses that follow, without a supernatural intervention, without the hand of God, now that's a leap of faith. Because where did that come from? So let's see what the guests think, and let's meet our guest, shall we? She's a scientist, a psychologist, and quite possibly the only person on earth that truly has the cure to obesity. I'm serious. Welcome, weight management guru and author of Immaculate Consumption, Dr. Deena Solomon. Hello, Dr. Deena Solomon. Hey.
Hi, Scott.
I hope you can go with this because you're a scientist. You're a behaviorist. Things have to make sense in the lab. So what do you think of this crazy stuff? You're going to go with it? You're going to go on the ride?
Scott, I was invited to be on the show, and it's a privilege. I'm glad to be here, and you know what? I love rides, and let's just see where it goes.
Let's go on the ride, man. We're going to be on the ride. Okay, he's a writer. He's an actor, a comedian, a show creator. But it's all not about him on his free time. He creates novel panhandling signs for the homeless on his, to donate, right? You do that, right? He gives back. He gives back. Welcome, creator extraordinaire Benji Aflalo. Hello, Benji.
Hey, everybody. Hey, thanks for having me. This is so fun.
All right, man. Well, I'm glad. I hope it stays fun. He's a comedian whose jokes, some say, land a little too much to the band. But he's fixed it. He now hands out instruments to the audience. And now everything works, right? Welcome, my sidekick here at The Word, Mr. Sandy Danto.
Hey, Scott. I'm ghostwriting the third installment in the trilogy of Scripture, the New Testament.
The day, very good. Well, it's
a working title.
It's a work in progress. I'll make sure the hand of God touches you during your dream state tonight.
Thank you.
She never met a role she wouldn't take, but now she's done this show, so she won't even go out to audition for the remake of Breakfast at Tiffany's now. Hey, but she's still here. Welcome, co-host Jacqi Sandy.
Hello.
You could be the next Audrey Hepburn. You should go out for these things.
I've unfortunately seen some roles I wouldn't take.
Yeah, what was one of those roles you didn't take?
Oh, God.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, God. That's
long story.
No, we're kidding. Of course, you don't take every role. We kibitz. All right. We are continuing on our quest to go through Genesis, and we just wrapped up Cain and Abel, chapter 4. Yeah, the story of Cain and Abel. Cain and Abel, well, everybody knows. Cain, he killed his brother probably out of jealousy, and then he had some offspring that had a little bit of a murdering issue as well. And, then, God went back. He kind of reseeded and had Adam kind of get back with Eve, and another kid, Seth. And now we're starting chapter 5. When we come back, we're going to go to the actual next verse. Unbelievable, huh? Hey, and we are back. We're starting chapter 5, and here we go. This is the narrative of the generations of man. On the day that God created man, in the likeness of God, he created him. Here we are, mentioned once again that man is made in God's image. Why does God have to remind us for the third time that we are made in his image? What is he telling us? Could it be that without fully allowing this biblical truth to take root in our soul, deep, humanity is hopelessly lost? Like we're just a perceived random accident where our behaviors and actions are only driven by the whims and trends of our present culture and the deities that man creates to fill in the hole. In the past, we had idols to worship to fill in that emptiness that we created, to temper our fears, Now we have the self-esteem movement and our own present-day idols, pick athlete, musician of your choice, fill in the blank. And of course, we have lots of meds to numb us from the great emptiness, the great fear of what the hell are we doing here? Okay. Are these not just replacement narratives? For we are created in God's image. God really wants us to believe this. He does not want us to feel lost in an unfamiliar world. Having God as creator of the universe, as your creator as well, I got to tell you, it's pretty good on the self-esteem curve. I feel pretty good just thinking about it now. I mean, he's got my back. I'm part of it. I'm part of this whole thing. Maybe, who knows? And you can take it too far and become a raving lunatic. But I'm tempering it. Tempering. As you can see, clearly I'm tempering it. All right. That's my spiel. And we go, who shall I pick first? I'm eyeing Benji. What do you think? Why is God constantly reminding us that we are created in his own image? What's going on here, Benji?
I almost think, especially since this line comes after the Cain and Abel thing, I think it's a reminder that half of people are going to be good and half of people are going to be bad, and that you sort of just have to accept that and move on, you know? That's sort of my take on the Cain and Abel and that thing.
Hey, Sandy Danto.
Yes.
I see you there. You smiling at something. What's going on? What's with God? Why does he constantly remind us about, that we're created in his image?
I think because confidence is one of the greatest human tools you can have. And what could give you more confidence than being told you're created in the image of God? But I do think you made a good point. It needs to be tempered. We need a way to measure it, because there are some people that just run with that notion a little too far and they believe it a little too hard, like Elon Musk, for example.
So we shouldn't believe in Jacqi?
Those figures that we worship, or kings and queens that have this corrupt mentality that's very narcissistic and very egotistical, is a false version of God in his image, because the true God is not narcissistic or egotistical. In fact, God is saying, you are like me. You have my power. Do not worship me. Worship yourself. So it's very contradictory, because I think the energy, we should hold the energy that we are God-like beings, because if we have that energy, we wouldn't murder, because why would we murder a piece of God if everyone is God?
Ooh, so now you've gotten to the golden rule of thy neighbor as thyself through that. That's what you can't. How do you hurt if we're all created that? Yeah, very good. All right. Well, if that's your point, I'm down with that. Except the part of worshiping myself, which I quite honestly, I look in the mirror. That's a very tricky thing to do. I mean, maybe you're good at it, Jacqi, but I look there. I'm not building any idols of myself. I'm just not going there. Hey, Deena, don't we ever forgot about you, Dr. Deena Solomon over there? Why do you think? Let's bring it back to the original. Why do you think God is reminded us very early on here in his Torah, very early on, 3 times, that we're created in his image, the creator of the universe?
I think the analogy that comes to mind is the oyster. And you have a tiny little piece of sand that goes into the oyster. And now that oyster has to incorporate ways in order to manage that irritant. And the resolution of that is the pearl, is that beautiful, beautiful, beautiful creation that started out with that grain of sand.
I actually love that. And something just clicked in my head. It's like God, it's like if we believe in the Bang Bang, which the Big Bang, not the Bang Bang.
Yeah, that, by the way, is the role that you turned down, I think. The Bang Bang. Yeah, that was it. We couldn't remember. All right, that was it. So you see,
You're
we
right,
come right
that
back.
Awful
Go ahead.
role.
Good thing I'm not Freudian.
The Big Bang.
So in the
which
Bang
is
Bang,
another film that you didn't take as well. Wow, I never realized there's a lot of films.
Maybe. So if we were to mix the two theories of God and the Big Bang, it would be like the universe started as just like a swirling bit of dust, just kind of like this pearl. So if you picture the universe like God, and we're created in God's image, then Dr. Solomon's metaphor about the little dirt in the pearl as the human is in ratio to God becoming God as the little swirling particles of dust to the creation of the universe.
Well, we had guests on before that at this point they walk into another room and get a bong. This is the first time that I actually want to go and get a bong. When we come back, we'll take our last verses here and we'll wrap up. Okay, we're back. And now I will read from the next verse to be discussed, because there's a lot of verses in this segment, and God help me with that. So here we go. Chapter 5, verses 4 through 21, and I'm going to just rifle them through. Jacqi, you want to read a couple of these?
Okay.
Go for it, Jacqi.
In the days of Adam, after he begot Seth, were 800 years, and he begot sons and daughters. And all the days of Adam that he lived were 930 years, and he died. And Seth lived 150 years, and he begot Enosh.
That's 5 years.
And Seth lived after he had begotten Enosh 807 years, and he begot sons and daughters. And all the days of Seth were 912 years, and he died. And Enosh lived 90 years, and he begot Kenan. And Enosh lived after he had begotten Kenan 815 years, and he begot sons and daughters. And all the days of Enosh were 905 years, and he died. And Kenan lived 70 years, and he begot Mahalalel. And Kenan lived after he had begotten Mahalalel 840 years, and he begot sons and daughters. And all the days of Kenan were 910 years, and he died. And Mahalalel lived 65 years, and he begot Jared. And Mahalalel lived after he had begotten Jared 830 years, and he begot sons and daughters. And all the days of Mahalalel were 895 years, and he died. And Jared lived 162 years, and he begot Enoch. And Jared lived after he had begotten Enoch 800 years, and he begot sons and daughters. And all the days of Jared were 962 years, and he died. And Enoch lived 65 years, and he begot Methuselah.
So, thank you, Jacqi. So we hit the seemingly endless begots and the ancestors of Adam and Eve and their son Seth. But what's stunning is how little we are actually told about these people. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, really? You live to 900 something and there's nothing of note? No accomplishments, failures, what music they liked? I mean, were they rich, poor? Did they have large appetites? Anger management issues? Nothing. There's nothing. No, we are only told their name, age, and when they had their first son, the age when they died, and of course, who became before and after them. I'm asking my guests. Hi, Benji. What do you make? Why is God obsessed with lineage? Why should we care about who our ancestors are in life?
I think it just gives you context, I think if you're just born into a world with no history and no culture and things to learn, there's not much there. So I think by knowing your lineage, it gives, I think there's a lot of value in knowing your history.
Very nice. Very nice. Sandy, you agree with that?
This passage specifically lets you know, all right, enough procreation has happened that you're distant enough in the bloodlines that it's cool now.
That could absolutely serve as a possibility. Yeah, I mean, you would know, hey, like if Kenan did it, hey, Kenan and Kel. Jacqi, what do you think?
There's a Salem witch in my family tree who was burned at the stake in Salem.
Benji was right, 50%. It was definitely Craig put a big X on her square. Put a big X. Really? That's your
did
DNA.
23.
Your DNA
I
is a
did
witch burned at the stake.
Yes.
Boy, we really need to vet these guests, Craig. What the? Can't take it. Can't take it,
I believe
Benji.
that.
I can't take it.
My cousin did 23andMe and found out that his wife is his cousin.
Oh my.
All right. Well, there you go. That is important. So
That
maybe we
is
should take that back. Dr. Deena,
Yeah,
what does it give a human being to know their lineage?
knowing our ancestry enables us to put in perspective, to be able to go back and put in perspective and give us faith and hope who we are today, contingent upon where we came from. I had the greatest compliment, being the youngest in the family, and my older brother said, "Wow, you're just like Grandma." My grandmother was president of Hadassah for 20 years in New York. She was a great storyteller. And that lineage, knowing that I realized some of her traits, were very comforting to me. So I think it's comforting in order to know our lineage, in order to be able to put in perspective how we got to be the way we are.
Yeah. Sandy, you have any last thoughts on this? Why is the
God's
age
God,
significant? Why is age like how long a person lived?
God's showing off that he used to take care of people's health care and they lived really long, and somewhere along the way he's just like, nah, you're on
that
your
would
own.
be Social Security wouldn't pan out.
God,
if the government was
stop
paying
being
for
a socialist.
900 years your Social Security. By the way, I can't help but looking at Jacqi right now and seeing the witch in the Salem. All I'm thinking about, she needs to be burned at the stake.
You're too puritanical, Scott.
Dr. Deena Solomon.
What our experiences are is universal, and it's been an absolute privilege and a delight to meet you all. And thank you for including me tonight.
All right, great. Thanks, guys. See you later.